Hello, I'm Darren Magee and welcome to my Mental Health Information and Awareness channel. Now today's topic, following on from a recent video, asks if I would talk a bit more about gaslighting, recognizing the common tactics, the phrases, the stages of gaslighting. Now if you like this video, please check out my other videos on mental health related topics and please consider subscribing to my channel. And just as a reminder, this video is not a substitute for support from a mental health professional, nor is it a tool to be used to diagnose someone. But when it comes to gaslighting, there are so many examples, strategies, tactics involved. Today, I'm going to highlight what I think are the most commonly employed. Some of them are quite easy to spot, others maybe not so much. Now, just to recap, gaslighting is a common term that's used to describe a form of psychological manipulation or abuse through brainwashing. It's aimed at having someone doubt their own memory, their own sense of reality. And it's a tactic that's often associated with narcissistic coercion and abuse. But to be fair, some gaslighters are just desperate for attention. But in the terms of it being abuse, the goal is to have someone, their victim or victims, to doubt themselves. And the long-term effects of being gaslit can have someone lose their sense of self, their self-confidence, sense of reality and self-worth. It is a psychological way of gaining control over someone through mind control, and it can be subtle and covert, like little digs, little questions, to be in the most outrageous lies. Now, particularly in a long-term situation like a relationship, romantic relationship, business partnership, friendships, there are different stages because a gaslighter that's setting out with a particular agenda, they generally don't want their victim or victims to know straight away what it is they're doing. They want them to doubt themselves. They want them to believe the alternative facts. Cross those boundaries a little bit at a time. So it can be a slower, insidious form of abuse. And because it's slower, it has to be persistent, repetitive, consistent. Because if it were once, or maybe just once in a while, it wouldn't really have any effect. For the tactic to work, for the gaslighter to gain control, they have to keep up the offensive. The aim is to gradually wear others down, to have them feel disorientated, discouraged, to have them fearful of trusting themselves. So, let's look at the different tactics and stages of gaslighting. So first of all, in the early stages, in the beginning, a skilled gaslighter are going to be telling lies. Lies that could well be true. Nothing too outrageous, certainly not at first. Victims generally aren't going to hear something ridiculous like, I'm an astronaut, I just prefer delivering takeaway food. These are going to be small white lies, embellishments, and it might sound things like, I don't remember that. Sure, didn't you say? So there's nothing that's going to be too unreasonable, certainly not at first. Then there's also focusing on some irrelevant detail in someone's conversation to change the direction of that conversation, make it about something else. Picking one small detail of something, questioning it, challenging it, because if they can get someone to agree that they may have been wrong about one small detail, that sows the seed for future doubt, for further nitpicking and interrogation. Now let's look at some of the tactics, and in no particular order. There's generalizing. The gaslighter may say things like, you're always this, you're never that, it's always whatever, you never see it any other way but yours. Now, if the victim were to ask for an example, chances are they're going to get one, even if it's an obscure one that bears no relation to what's being discussed. Either that or one will just be invented. Then there's exaggeration. Now, everybody can exaggerate something once in a while. I think we all do. We may exaggerate to make a story seem funnier, to make ourselves seem more attractive. But this isn't like exaggerating on your CV. This kind of exaggeration is aimed at them being right. And everybody thinks so. Their victim being wrong, in error, at fault, confused. The exaggeration, although may be way over the top, but it's often told with such conviction, such energy. And it could be taking something which may have an aspect of truth about it, but twisting it to paint a certain picture. And when it comes to painting certain pictures, some gaslighters can create situations that will discredit their victims. Now, this could be something like, don't get me anything for my birthday this year. I really don't want anything. But then telling others, they didn't get me anything for my birthday. I got them something totally amazing. They didn't even remember mine. and exaggerating the pain, the disappointment, and creating a negative image of the victim. So what they're actually doing is they're gaslighting others to create an image of the victim that they can use at a later date through, say, triangulation or mobbing. Now, next up is giving false hope. Because there may be occasional, yet superficial, acts of kindness, remorse, things like that. And this would be especially common in, say, a romantic relationship, but it can take place in any kind of relationship. The victim starts to believe that things maybe aren't that bad. This other person, they do have empathy. They can apologize. They do care. But it's only part of the manipulation. It is a way of nurturing a codependent relationship. Now, this is where the victim becomes dependent on the gaslighter for their own sense of self, their own sense of reality. And the insecurity and anxiety the victim feels leaves them struggling to trust themselves. Now, the gaslighter may offer safety, reassurance, security, acceptance, but it usually comes with either an overt or a covert threat to take it away. The offer is there conditionally, and it's usually on the condition the gaslighter has control, because after all, they know what's right, they know what reality is, and they know what's best for you. Now, next up is what I think is the most common one, and that is denial. Now, regardless of any evidence, there is still denial. A gaslighter could have chocolate all over their face, but they will deny eating that chocolate bar, even as they wipe their face clean. And they'll deny it with a straight face. They could be caught having an affair, but they will make their partner believe that they're insane for even thinking that. Regardless of any evidence, text messages, pictures, witnesses confirming it. Which leads me on to the next one. They can be elusive, they can be slippery, and they will not be pinned down to any particular subject. And I liken this particular strategy as being like trying to grab an eel with your elbows. They will misdirect, mislead, act confused, have righteous indignation, or take great offence at such an accusation. They don't understand what the issue is, and they sit back, watch with either a concerned or a confused look on their face as the victim tries to explain themselves. But that explanation is never heard. Nothing is ever acknowledged, never mind even resolved, and the victim both looks and feels like they're insane. And the victim may hear things like, "I'm offended, I'm triggered." Now, I'm not saying someone shouldn't be offended at something, or if there's anything wrong with someone being emotionally triggered by something. But when it's used as a form of manipulation, it is a way of shaming someone into believing that not only have they done something wrong, but they are bad, they are wicked, and they are without morals for doing so. And the next up is disagreements. Now, we all disagree, by the way. We can't always be on the same page. But these disagreements are escalated into either explosions or emotional meltdowns. And this is especially so if they're called out on their lies, because they suddenly start providing evidence of the victim's inferiority, stupidity, uselessness, lack of rational thought, and so on. Because remember, in those early stages we talked about earlier, they were picking on one small detail to have the victim question themselves, and this is where it starts paying off. And they'll not only refute any evidence, but they will do it in a way that sows doubt, make false accusations, pick on something completely unrelated to that particular confrontation that's happening right here, right now. And they may pick something personal about the person challenging them. Again, generalizing. You're always like this. You're never that. It's called blame shifting, misdirection, misinformation. And what I like about these days, the days of text, email, social media and so on, is you don't just get to hear, you actually get to see the word salad, the endless paragraphs that says nothing that addresses anything to do with the conversation. And some are so skilled that what they say, hidden amongst that word salad, it's actually not that unreasonable. They may be making quite a valid, morally acceptable, sense of decency kind of argument. The aim is for the victim to be left arguing against something that they may actually agree with. Again, it's a way of crazy making. The victim has no idea what's just happened. No idea even what the original argument was about. It's just been steered somewhere else. Because some gaslighters, they think that if they get the last word, they've won. And they haven't. All they've done is maybe just get someone to shut up. They've exasperated someone to the point where they just see no point in going on. But the gaslighter, in their little head, they think they have won. But regardless of the tactic or the method or the order in which these things come, the goal is to control and dominate, to take advantage of and take advantage without consequence. This can happen in relationships, it can happen in families, it can happen in work, on social media, it can happen with people they've never even met. It can happen in society in general. But remember, the lies they tell are to keep the victims insecure, in doubt, off balance, and to keep their supporters on side. So they're just some of the tactics and the stages of gaslighting. There are so many more, so please use the comment box below if there's any you'd like to share, any I haven't included. Or indeed, if you have any comments or questions, I do like reading them and responding to them whenever I can. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel for future updates on mental health related topics. And until next time, thanks for watching.